Feel that itch, like your life's a playlist stuck on repeat, but the beat's off, and you're itching to smash the skip button? Something's brewing, electric and wild, screaming, "This isn't it anymore, and you're not who you were." Your old grind's a glitch, scrolling through habits that don't fit, dodging calls from people who don't spark, clocking into a gig that's more zombie mode than hustle. Those big dreams you tattooed on your soul, they're fading, pixelated, while a new pulse hums, vague, fierce, daring you to catch up. Most swipe past it, tag it just vibes or midlife crap and scroll on. Nah, this ain't a filter. This is your reset loading. What if these jolts are your cue to ditch the script and rewrite the game? Marcus Aurelius, Stoic OG who laughed at chaos, dropped this. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Flux is king, unstoppable. Your call. Flail against it or flip it into fuel for a badass reboot? If these signs ping you, don't sleep. Your world's not glitching, it's leveling up. These aren't bugs, they're beacons. Catch them, and you're inches from a breakthrough that could shred your old skin and redraw your horizon. We're diving in. Fistueri. Hit it now. Like this video, subscribe to Victory Stoic, blast it to someone stuck in their own loop. Slam I seize the storm in the comments to own this shift, and drop your truth. When did your life glitch hard, and what flashed the signal? We're forging a crew of game changers. Jump in. Let's roll. Number 1. You feel restless and lost. One day, you wake up and something feels off. The world around you hasn't changed, but everything seems different. Conversations that once excited you now feel dull. Your work, once fulfilling, now drains you. The life you built no longer fits, like a pair of shoes that have grown too tight. At first, you tell yourself it's just stress or burnout, a temporary phase that will pass. But deep down, you know it's more than that. It's not exhaustion. It's psychologists call this liminal space, the in-between stage where one chapter of life has ended, but the next has yet to begin. It's the unsettling moment between what was and what could be. In spiritual traditions, it's known as the dark night of the soul, a period of deep internal questioning that precedes transformation. The Stoics had a different perspective. They saw this restlessness as nature's way of stripping away what no longer serves you. Everything that happens is an opportunity for growth, Epictetus taught. What feels like discomfort is often a signal, a message that your mind, body, and soul are urging you towards something greater. If you feel lost, it's not just in your head, your body senses it first. Neuroscientists have found that the anterior cingulate cortex, the part of the brain responsible for detecting misalignment, becomes highly active when your external life no longer matches your internal truth. This triggers unease, anxiety, or even physical tension. Your instincts recognize the need for change before your conscious mind does. But most people ignore it. Instead of listening, they drown it out with distractions, mindless scrolling, overworking, chasing temporary pleasures. They cling to the familiar, even when it no longer fits. Because the unknown is terrifying. History is filled with people who felt this internal pull before stepping into something extraordinary. Before founding Apple, Steve Jobs dropped out of college, traveled to India, and immersed himself in Eastern philosophy. He had no clear direction, only a sense that where he was didn't feel right. That period of uncertainty became the foundation for Apple's minimalist design and revolutionary vision. If Jobs had ignored that restlessness, if he had forced himself to stay on a path that no longer fit, the world might never have seen the iPhone, the Mac, or the impact of his vision. Restlessness is not a problem to be solved. It's a call to change. It's a sign that your current life no longer matches the person you are becoming. The question is, will you resist it, or will you embrace it? If your job no longer excites you, pay attention. If the people around you drain your energy, take notice. If you feel a pull towards something new, even if it scares you, trust it. The next step won't always be clear, and that's okay. What matters is that you stop ignoring the signals and start listening to them. Most people spend their lives running from this feeling, but those who embrace it transform. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." This discomfort is not a curse, it's a teacher. It's showing you what no longer serves you. It's pushing you toward something greater. If you feel lost, don't panic. You are not at a dead end, You are at a threshold. The only question is whether you will walk through it. Number 2. You stop seeking validation from others. At some point, you realize that the weight you've been carrying isn't your own, it's the expectations of others. For years, you measured your worth by external approval, adjusting your choices based on how people might react. You sought reassurance, feared judgment, and played it safe to avoid criticism. But then something shifts. One day, the opinions that once dictated your actions begin to lose their grip. You stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "What do I actually want?" This shift doesn't happen overnight. Most people are conditioned from childhood to crave validation. A child gets praised for following the rules and reprimanded for stepping outside them. A student is rewarded for conforming, not questioning. An employee is promoted for pleasing their boss, not challenging the system. By adulthood, many people have mistaken acceptance for self-worth. They chase approval the way a gambler chases a win, always seeking more, but never feeling whole. But here's the truth. Seeking validation is a trap with no finish line. Even if you gain approval, you will need to maintain it. If you build your confidence on applause, you will forever be at the mercy of an audience. The only way to break free is to stop playing the game entirely. Take Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. He didn't come from wealth or privilege. As the son of a truck driver, he grew up in a Brooklyn housing complex, constantly reminded that success belonged to other people. When he first pitched his vision of transforming Starbucks from a small coffee supplier into an international cafe experience, he was met with rejection. Investors told him it would never work. Friends and colleagues advised him to play it safe. For a while, he wrestled with doubt. Was he chasing an illusion? Was he making a mistake? The turning point came when Schultz realized something fundamental. If he needed permission to follow his vision, he would never achieve it. Instead of waiting for people to believe in him, he focused on executing his plan. He built Starbucks not because others supported him, but because he stopped needing them to. This is what happens when you detach from external validation. You stop wasting energy trying to fit into expectations that were never yours to begin with. You stop measuring your success by the applause of others. You start making decisions based on what is right for you, not what will make you look good. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus taught, if you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. True confidence isn't built on proving yourself to others. It's built on knowing that you don't have to. When people doubt you, it no longer shakes your certainty. When they criticize you, it no longer derails your direction. You listen, but you are no longer ruled by it. This is what true freedom feels like. Not needing permission, not waiting for approval, not living for applause, just moving forward, with or without the world's recognition. Number 3, you start accepting reality instead of avoiding it. There was a time when Anna believed life was unfair. She had done everything right, graduated from college, worked hard, and followed all the rules. Yet, at 32, she found herself stuck in a job she hated, drowning in student debt and watching friends seemingly move ahead in life while she felt left behind. Her reaction? Blame. She blamed the economy, her upbringing, and the people who had better opportunities than she did. But then, something shifted. One evening, after yet another frustrating day at work, she found herself scrolling through social media, comparing her life to others. Instead of the usual frustration, a new thought surfaced. What if my situation isn't the problem? What if my reaction to it is? That moment changed everything. Anna realized she had spent years waiting for external circumstances to change, hoping for a lucky break, a perfect opportunity, or for someone to come along and fix her situation. But none of that was in her control. What was? Her actions, her mindset, and her next move. So she stopped complaining. She stopped blaming. Instead, she started making changes. She built new skills, expanded her network, and eventually transitioned into a career she actually cared about. The job she once resented became a stepping stone instead of a dead end. The debt she once cursed became a challenge she tackled strategically. This is what happens when you accept reality instead of avoiding it. You stop wishing for different circumstances and start working with what you have. You recognize that control is an illusion, except for one thing: your response. Most people waste years fighting reality. They resist change, hold on to resentment, and stay trapped in victimhood. But those who embrace reality, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard, unlock something powerful: freedom. Because once you accept what is, you can finally start shaping what could be. Number 4. You feel at peace, even when everything around you is chaotic. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, trees bend, rain lashes down in sheets. The world around you is in turmoil. But there, at the very center, you are still. The storm rages on, but it does not move you. This is what true inner peace feels like. It is not the absence of chaos, it is the ability to remain unshaken by it. Most people spend their lives reacting. When things go wrong, they panic. When faced with uncertainty, they grasp for control. When others criticize or disappoint them, they crumble. Their emotions rise and fall with the circumstances around them, like a boat tossed by the waves. But then, something changes. One day, the same things that used to provoke you, traffic, delays, people's opinions, don't hit as hard. The stressors are still there, but they no longer dictate your mood. Disappointments come, yet they don't consume you. Challenges arise, yet you face them with a quiet certainty. You have become the eye of the storm. Take David, a restaurant owner who spent years living in constant stress. He micromanaged his staff, worried about every little complaint, and let the fear of failure consume him. One day, a fire destroyed half his kitchen. Instead of reacting in anger or despair, he simply said, "Okay, let's see what we can do." His employees were shocked. They had seen him lose his temper over much smaller problems. But this time, he was different. Not because the situation was easy, but because he had learned a powerful truth. Panic never fixes anything. David had trained himself to detach from what he could not control. He stopped seeing setbacks as personal attacks and started viewing them as puzzles to be solved. Instead of wasting energy resisting reality, he focused on adapting to it. This is what inner peace looks like. Not blind optimism, not pretending everything is fine, but knowing that no matter what happens, you will handle it. The world is unpredictable. Problems will come, people will disappoint you, plans will fail. But when you reach this state of clarity, none of it breaks you. You no longer live at the mercy of your circumstances. You become unshakable. Number 5. You start seeing the truth about people and situations. There's a moment in life when the illusion shatters. You look around and realize that not everyone is who you thought they were. The people you once trusted, the job you once idealized, the life you worked so hard to build, suddenly it doesn't fit anymore. At first, you try to ignore it. You tell yourself you're overthinking. You make excuses for people's behavior. You convince yourself that the job is still fine, or that your friends mean well. But deep down, you know something is off. The dinner party test. Imagine this. You're at a dinner party with friends you've known for years. These are the people you've spent countless nights with, celebrating wins, venting about work, sharing inside jokes. Then one night, something shifts. You mention an exciting new opportunity, a career move, a passion project, or even just a lifestyle change. You expect support, maybe even enthusiasm. But instead, you get awkward silence. Someone cracks a dismissive joke, another changes the subject. The conversation moves on like what you said didn't matter. And that's when it hits you. Not everyone in your life wants to see you grow. It's a harsh realization, but a necessary one. Some people only support you as long as you stay the same. The moment you start changing, breaking old patterns, leveling up, pursuing something better, you expose the gap between where you are going and where they are staying. The corporate ladder that leads nowhere. Now let's talk about work. For years, Michael believed in the corporate dream. He climbed the ranks, played office politics, took on extra projects to prove himself. He imagined that one day, all the stress, the long hours, and the sacrifices would pay off. Then, one afternoon, he looked around the office and really saw his colleagues for the first time. The senior executives, people he once admired, were tired, bitter, stuck in the same cycle. The bonuses never seemed big enough. The promotions never seemed satisfying. The freedom he had been chasing, it never arrived. For the first time, he asked himself, "Do I actually want this life?" That's when he realized he had been climbing the wrong ladder. The job he once thought was the key to success was actually a trap. It wasn't that he was lazy or ungrateful. He had simply outgrown the illusion that this was the only path. The truth is a filter. When you start seeing reality clearly, it changes everything. You notice who drains your energy and who uplifts you. You recognize when a relationship is built on mutual respect versus when it's built on convenience. You stop lying to yourself about what makes you happy. This shift isn't easy. Some friendships will fade, some dreams will need to be left behind, some people will resent your growth. But here's what you gain: clarity. And clarity is power. The lesson: choose who deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going, and that's okay. The key is to stop forcing people and situations to fit when they clearly don't. As your mind expands, your circle will shrink, but what remains will be real. Because in the end, life is too short to spend it with people who secretly hope you fail. Number 7. You spend more time thinking instead of reacting. There was a time when you lived in reaction mode. A rude comment, you fired back. A problem at work, you rushed to fix it, often making it worse. A sudden opportunity, you jumped in without questioning if it was the right move. Life felt like a series of quick decisions, and speed felt like strength. But then something shifted. You began to pause. You no longer rushed to respond, no longer let emotions dictate your choices. You realized that speed is not power. Clarity is. This shift is subtle but life-changing. It's the difference between being controlled by life and taking control of it. Instead of reacting to every stimulus, you step back, observe, and decide when and how to respond. The power of deliberate thinking. Most people exist in a constant state of reaction. Their emotions dictate their words, their fears dictate their decisions, and their impulses dictate their future. But those who master the power of delayed response operate on an entirely different level. Take Napoleon Bonaparte, one of history's most brilliant military strategists. He was known for a simple but profound rule. When faced with urgent news, he often waited before responding. His reasoning? Most crises resolve themselves with time, and impulsive reactions often lead to bad decisions. Instead of rushing into action like most leaders, Napoleon observed, analyzed, and acted only when the moment was right. This ability to wait, to think instead of react, was a key to his success. This isn't just about war, it applies to everyday life. People who train themselves to pause make better choices. They say less but mean more. They act slower but move further. They don't chase every opportunity, but the ones they do pursue change everything. From impulse to intelligence, the story of Daniel. Consider Daniel, a corporate attorney in Los Angeles. He was the kind of person who prided himself on thinking fast. He responded to emails instantly, jumped into arguments without hesitation, and always had an answer ready. He thought it made him look sharp. But over time, he noticed something. The people who spoke the least often had the most influence. One day, during a high-stakes negotiation, a senior partner asked him a difficult question. His first instinct was to answer immediately, to prove he was sharp, to fill the silence. But then he paused. The room grew quiet. He took a deep breath and thought for a moment. Then he gave a clear, confident, well-structured response. After the meeting, his mentor pulled him aside and said, "That was the most powerful thing you've done. When you took that pause, everyone listened." That day, Daniel learned something crucial. Thinking before reacting doesn't make you slow, it makes you formidable. Why clarity is more powerful than speed. Most people mistake immediate action for intelligence. They believe that the fastest response is the best one. But the truth is, real thinkers, real leaders, understand that the strongest move is often the one you don't make immediately. When someone insults you, silence often says more than words. When an opportunity appears, waiting can reveal if it's a trap or a true chance. When life gets chaotic, stillness allows you to see the truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Give yourself time to learn before you speak, and take time to think before you act." Reaction is easy. Wisdom takes time. The lesson: master your mind, master your life. The ability to pause, think, and act with intention is a skill few people develop. It is the difference between making choices out of fear and making them from a place of power. If you've noticed yourself thinking more before you act, take it as a sign you're evolving. You are no longer a slave to impulse. You are in control. Number 8, you feel a deep urge to do something different. At first, it's just a quiet thought, a whisper in the back of your mind. maybe you should move to a new city, maybe you should start that business, switch careers, or finally learn that skill you've been putting off. You can't explain it, but something inside you is pulling you toward change. Most people ignore this feeling. They dismiss it as restlessness or irrational thinking. They convince themselves it's not the right time, or that they're being unrealistic. But history shows us that those who listen to this call often change not only their own lives, but the world. The story of Theodore Roosevelt answering the call of change. In the late 1800s, Theodore Roosevelt was a rising political star in New York. He had served in the state legislature and was making a name for himself. But then, tragedy struck. His mother and wife both died on the same day. Devastated, he could have stayed in New York, drowning in grief. Instead, he felt an overwhelming urge to leave everything behind and start over. Without hesitation, he moved to the Dakota Badlands, a rugged, untamed frontier where he lived as a rancher, facing brutal winters, dangerous outlaws, and a completely different way of life. To many, it looked like he had lost his mind. Why would a promising politician throw everything away for a life of hardship? But Roosevelt knew he had to follow that pull. That experience hardened him, strengthened his character, and reshaped his identity. When he returned to politics, he was no longer just a privileged intellectual, he was a battle-tested leader. Eventually, he became President of the United States, remembered for his strength, resilience, and fearless decision-making. But it all started with that unshakable urge to do something different. Why this feeling matters. Psychologists call this intuitive intelligence, a deep, subconscious knowing that something needs to change before your conscious mind can fully understand why. Your brain is constantly processing information, recognizing patterns, and detecting misalignments in your life. When something no longer fits, your job, your environment, your lifestyle, your instincts start pushing you towards something new. Elon Musk felt the urge to build electric cars when the world still laughed at the idea. Oprah Winfrey left a comfortable TV anchor job because she knew she was meant for something greater. Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC until he was in his 60s because he finally answered the call to do what he loved. These moments of restlessness are not random. They are signals that your current life no longer matches your potential. The real question, will you listen? Most people resist this feeling. They fear change, uncertainty, and risk. They stay where they are because it's safe. But those who listen, those who take the leap, often find themselves in places they never imagined possible. So ask yourself, what is your instinct telling you? What have you been ignoring? Because when the future calls, you only have two choices: ignore it and stay the same, or answer it and transform. Number 9, strange coincidences keep happening. You glance at the clock and it's 11:11. You see the same number sequence on a receipt, then again on a license plate. You think of an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, and suddenly, they message you. You stumble upon a book, a podcast, or a conversation that perfectly answers a question you've been struggling with. At first, it seems like chance. But deep down, you feel something more, as if life is guiding you towards something. Most people dismiss these moments. They chalk it up to randomness, to coincidence. But what if they're not? What if these patterns are signals? Reminders that you are aligned with something bigger than yourself. The science of synchronicity. The psychologist Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, the idea that seemingly unrelated events can be connected in ways that are beyond rational explanation. Jung believed that when you are on the right path, the universe responds with subtle confirmations. These aren't accidents. They are meaningful coincidences designed to get your attention. Even the Stoics acknowledged this idea in their own way. Seneca once wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." What we call coincidence is often the result of our subconscious recognizing patterns before our conscious mind catches up. The brain is wired to detect connections. Neuroscientists have found that the reticular activating system, RAS, the part of the brain responsible for filtering information, begins to highlight things that matter to us. If you start focusing on a goal, a dream, or a major life change, your brain becomes hypersensitive to anything related to it. This is why opportunities, ideas, and the right people seem to appear at just the right moment. The story of Jim Carrey, a vision turned reality. In the early 1990s, Jim Carrey was just another struggling comedian in Hollywood. He had no major roles, no real connections, and no financial security. But instead of waiting for luck, he decided to create his own. One night, sitting on a lonely road overlooking Los Angeles, he wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and dated it 5 years into the future. He carried it in his wallet, seeing it every day as a reminder of where he was headed. Then, strange things began to happen. Over the next few years, unexpected connections formed. Small roles led to bigger opportunities, and in 1994, he landed the lead in Dumb and Dumber, his first $10 million paycheck. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe it was a signal that his actions, mindset, and belief were aligning with his future. Why you should pay attention. These moments of synchronicity don't mean success will magically fall into your lap, but they serve as markers, indicators that you're moving in the right direction. When you keep encountering the same numbers, symbols, or words, ask yourself, what is my mind trying to recognize? When the same idea keeps resurfacing, don't ignore it, explore it. When a sudden opportunity arises, don't assume it's random. Ask if it's the next step you've been preparing for. The Stoics believed that life constantly presents us with choices. What we call signs are often the result of our own focus and awareness expanding. The question is, will you ignore them, or will you listen? Because the universe may not speak in words, but it is speaking. And if you pay attention, it might just change everything. Number 10. Unexpected opportunities appear, but only those who are ready can seize them. Opportunities rarely arrive with a flashing sign that says, "This is it." More often they come disguised as a random conversation, an unexpected challenge, or an offer that seems too small to matter. Some people recognize them instantly. Others let them slip away, only realizing their importance years later. History is filled with stories of people who were prepared when the right moment arrived. In 1954, a young law student named Barack Obama Sr. from Kenya received a scholarship to study in the United States. There was no internet, no career roadmap, just a single opportunity. He took it. That one decision changed his future, eventually leading to the birth of his son, Barack Obama, who would become the President of the United States. One scholarship altered history, but not every opportunity is obvious. In 1971, Steven Spielberg was a college dropout sneaking onto film sets at Universal Studios. He didn't have credentials, but he acted like he belonged. One day he met a studio executive who, impressed by Spielberg's confidence, offered him a chance to direct a short film. That project led to another, then another, until he became one of the greatest directors of all time. These weren't just lucky breaks. They were moments where preparation met opportunity. Most people assume that success is about working hard until a breakthrough magically appears. But the truth is, opportunities are always around us. It's just that only the prepared mind can recognize them. Think about it. Have you ever hesitated on an opportunity, only to regret it later? Have you ever thought, if I had been more ready, I could have taken that chance? The harsh truth is, life doesn't slow down for those who aren't paying attention. So the real question is, when your opportunity comes, will you be ready? Conclusion: your breakthrough is closer than you think. If you've noticed any of these signs, understand this. It's not random. These shifts in your thoughts, emotions, and environment are not coincidences. They are signals. They are telling you that you are standing at the edge of transformation. The question is, will you embrace it or will you resist it? Most people fear change because it feels uncertain. But what's even more dangerous is staying the same when life is pushing you forward. As Marcus Aurelius said, your life is what your thoughts make it. If you continue to accept the old, you will keep repeating it. If you dare to embrace the new, you will create something greater than ever before. This is your moment. No more waiting, no more doubting. The signs are here, and the next move is yours. Prepare yourself, because your breakthrough is coming. Now, take action. Like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic if this message resonated with you, and tell us in the comments, which of these signs have you experienced? What change are you stepping into? Let's build a community of strength and transformation together.